If you remember last year, my wife made these gnomes, and I made some chairs to put them on, and we call them the Roman gnomes to help out the elves on the shelves. Well, this year she decided to make a couple reindeer for me, and she made the reindeer, and she's like, "What should we name them?" So I went on the internet and I searched for the most popular search name, and turned out it was Brandon. So we're calling the reindeers Brandon. And I decided they needed something to sit in, and I didn't want to do another chair, so I figured a sleigh would go good with Brandon. So I went over to the CNC router, and I'm making 4 of these runners, 2 of the sleighs, so I decided to do this by CNC, and it's a lot easier on me. And I cut them out. There's the first one, and everything's been working really good on this machine I built. It's no problems yet. Everything works good, and there's the first one done, and time to do another one. And just sit back and just watch everything run, and that Master controller is pretty amazing. I really like that. Makes everything so easy to do. And I can screw up the CNC too. You can see I cut the blank a little short, and that one was just perfect. So I did have to do a little sanding later, but I didn't worry about it. Then after I CNC them, I take them over to the sander. I like to cut a couple thousandths thinner than the material is thick, shallower than the material is thick, and then I sand the pieces out. Otherwise, some of those little parts can get sucked up in the dust collector and stuff and make a lot of noise. So this works best for me, so I'm just gonna run them through here a couple times until all the parts fall out, and I wind up with my sleigh runners there. So I did make 4 of them. You can see I'm making 2 sleighs, and that made it go real quick. Then over to the sander and touch them up a little bit and fix those little tips where I had the short piece there, rounded it off. Then to hold it all together, I made some little cross braces there and got out that armor pocket tool jig with the fixture that I made for it, and that's real easy to put in these pocket holes with that. And this is actually the first time I've tried these little 1/2-inch ones, the short screws with 1/2-inch material, and it seems to work good with everything. And having that vertical jig to register it up against really makes it easy to do a bunch of these. So I do like those armor screws too. They work good. I have less splitting and pull out with them, so they are a little bit better than the Craig screws, I think, but it's up to personal preference, I guess. So that made it easy to just put the pocket holes in them, and like I said, this is really no fancy joinery in these little sleighs. So, and there you can see I just have that little add up right there that makes everything easy to register and get square. And if you didn't see the video about this jig, you can see how the jig actually adjusts where that clamp collar goes to. You just put it in, clamp it, and tighten it later. So now I'm going to start screwing things together here. And cross pieces are going in. I just wanted to put a drop of glue on there just to give it a little extra grip, and throw a clamp on there, because I find that once you put glue on, everything gets really slippery and tries to slip around when you tighten it and stuff. So I just figured I'd clamp it. And let's grab the right tool now, and then just tighten the screw up. And as I said before, these pocket holes work really good. And this is my first time in 1/2-inch stock, and this is ash, and it worked really good, no problems. There you can see everything came out perfectly square, and then it's just time to go through and assemble them all. You can see how I'm using those clamps on the workbench too. They really do come in handy. So one down, one more to go, and then I need some thin 1/2-inch thick walnut for the slots in the sleigh. So I just had some leftover scrap from another job that I'm just going to thin down a little bit here. And then I just marked out, what I wanted, and I decided to just cut them out on the jigsaw. It's quickest and easiest way. I could have done them on the CNC, but it would have taken me an hour or 2 to program them first. So, a little bit of hand sanding after jigsaw in there, and I've got my pieces for the sleigh there. You can see the walnut. I really like the walnut against the ash. And that's what they're going to look like. A little more work to do on that one right side runner, but or part. And then it's time to go back and glue it together. Now, this glue probably won't do much over time, but I'm just adding it there to, help keep things together if it takes a beating, and locate it in place, and then use pin nails. Got this 23 gauge pin nailer that I actually did a video about it a while back when I got it, and it's really been a great tool. I really love it. Whenever you're doing something like this where you don't really, doesn't have to be real fancy or anything, you just want something to hold it together and keep it from slipping. These work good. Then when you sand over them, pretty much the holes disappear. So that, that's a good way to make things so you can handle them quickly when you're gluing them. And then it's time to go back and glue on the outer pieces here. And I just eyeballed and cut these all, what I thought they should look like. So it doesn't really matter when you're making something like this. Just try to make it, look halfway reasonable. And get things lined up there. And I put 3mm spacers in there just to give it like a shadow line to make it look a little better. A couple clamps just to keep things from moving there. You see how slippery glue makes everything. And then some more pin nails in here. These are a real handy tool. So it doesn't take long to put them together now, especially being able to go right on to the second one after the first one, because the nails are holding it in place. And then I tell you what, building this big workbench with the drawers for all the tools right there, so you don't have to, go hunt for them, is really one of the best things I did. It really makes it nice and easy to keep track of everything. So there they are. Just gotta let that glue dry a little bit. There's some squeeze out, but I'm not worried about it on this. Then I had to make the handlebars, and I decided to draw them up and do them on the CNC quickly because all the different shapes and angles. It makes it a pain to cut on the jigsaw and sand. So this makes them pretty much ready to go when you pull them off the machine. And I just nested 2 of them there, you can see, to make it go quicker. And then you just pop them out and they're done. And I also had to make a couple backs, and I started with the back from the Roman gnome chair and just made a couple changes, stretched it a little bit, and made that work. And I had to put a notch here for Brandon's tail, so I put them on the router too, and decided to make an extra one on that too, just so in case I mess something up on the engraving. So again, it's just a matter of watching the machine make them, and a couple minutes later I've got my 3 backs and time to go over and start engraving them. And I like to just kind of put the artwork down and then go back and go around all the letters and burn a deep sharp edge on them. And I don't like using masking on it or anything, because that's a pain to get the little pieces off between the letters and the A's and stuff like that. So I just I burn them deep, and I put a good edge on it, and then I can go back and sand it. And it takes 2 seconds, and everything's done. So I got 3 of them I'm going to do, and it's easy once you just make a couple fixtures to line them up with, and I'll go over to the bench and just start sanding a little bit. That goes pretty quick. You can see that clears them right up there. And I'll use air to blow it off and get them black again. Then it's time to do the back there, and now I was able to fit the sleigh. I decided to put some nomenclature up the middle of the sleigh, and I was able to fit that actually in the enclosure. And I just love how this walnut engraves. It just it comes out so nice, and it really does a good job on it. And then I had a couple of hinges. I decided to make this thing foldable so it wouldn't get damaged when it went in the box for most of the year down in the basement, and that makes it easy to store. And then I had to put the year on it, just so everybody knows what year all this went on. Now, the most time-consuming thing was putting polyurethane on this. I I should have sprayed it. I should have set up the sprayer and done that, but I didn't feel like it for just, 2 little parts. And it wound up taking me a really long time to get a couple coats of polyurethane on all these parts. But, I did it, and I used that polyacrylic, and it comes out pretty nice, and it dries quick. So then it's time to start making some tags, go around his neck, and did a little artwork there. And I made 2 different type of tags, one with 2 holes and one with 1 hole. Those are the 2-hole ones. I didn't know which I was going to use until I, started putting the necklaces together. So again, I'm using light burn now with this D1, and I'm still using the those red crosshairs for alignment. And I just, I can frame using them and don't have to worry about the laser beam or anything. And then I can just run it and everything comes out perfect. So, if you do have one of these, I'd recommend following the instructions on your web page for, setting it up for light burn, and use that. And you can see I register it up in the upper left-hand corner now. So once you get it framed and where you want it, you just go back and burn it. I could have done multiples here, but I decided to do one at a time. And again, this is light burn, which works really nice with it. Now I'm just going to engrave them, circle around the letters there, just give it a nice dark edge, and then cut them out. So I got the little name tags all done now. Now you can see they pop right out. And I went to Joann's a while back and got some of these little beads. I wanted some gold around his neck to, because he collects his gold from the elves on the shelf. So I figured I'd make some gold necklaces. And these are little 6mm beads with a hole in them. Now I decided to put them on some fishing line, and I tell you, an old guy with cataracts trying to feed clear fishing line through the little tiny hole. This one took me a while to do, but eventually I got it all, and I got the necklaces made, and they came out pretty good. I'm real happy with them. There you can see there's the first one, big heavy gold chain, and then I just had to go back and finish up the second one. So that was a fun little thing to do. Those beads are great for making necklaces. So here's everything all finished up, and you can see the branding on the left is still missing a body. My wife's still working on that one, make the body enclosed, but you can get an idea. And there's the Roman gnome over there on the right-hand side. And you can see little elves on the shelves, and all these guys actually do work with elves on the shelf to notify Santa what's going on, so better be good. I just thought this was a fun little project, and kind of, catches what's going on these days too. So ties it all together, and, be a little bit of history for everybody to remember. So it's just another little Christmas project that I wanted to share. And, you really have to be careful what you give something like that, who you give something like this to, because not everybody may appreciate it. But I know the person that's going to receive it will like it. All right, with that one done, time to move on to other gifts. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.